Hey guys, index card a day 5. Today I'm going to start out with some jelly printing. If you want to skip seeing the jelly printing, you can go to 4 minutes and 8 seconds. So I'm taking my old crusty grungy jelly plate and I put 2 index cards underneath so I can kind of see where I want to concentrate my color. On the right side, I'm going to work on a technique of layering paints and letting them dry to get like a more dynamic look. So I took some white paint, went just around the edges, and then took a texture plate, and it kind of has like little spotty kind of areas, and stamped that into it. And then on the left side I took some fuchsia and cheddar and I printed that, and then I took some magenta and I'm going to print that straight on an index card. Oh, but first I'm going to take another texture plate, and these are by Joggles, and it has like dashes and circles, and I'm going to print that one as well. And then I'm working in layers on the right side, so I'm letting each layer dry before I add the next. So my white layer is dry now. I'm going to add a little bit of magenta, very, very, very light. I'm just using a small brayer, and then I'm going to let that dry and work on the left side some more. I add a little bit of white to that and pull another print from that side. And I don't know if I'll use all of these cards, but it's nice just to have some options for quick backgrounds. I'm going to add a little bit of peacock sky and lime to the left side and use my brayer to blend those kind of together, but I'm just going up and down to make like a linear kind of blend, not like a crazy altogether blend, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to take ocean and before I do that, I realized that my right side is dry, so I'm going to add a little bit of cheddar to that side. A thicker application than I did the magenta, but still pretty thin. And I'm going to use this Dina Wakley stencil, and I'm going to take up some of that paint from the open spaces on the spare index card, and then let that dry, spread out my ocean on the left side, and pull a print from over there. And then I'm just going to try to get all of that paint up, and I just take a big sheet of cardstock. I like to use those kind of prints for like stamped elements or like little collage pieces. And then on my right side, I'm going to add a layer of fuchsia, and I'm going to pull a print off of a regular piece of cardstock. And then with that paint that kind of dried, I'm going to take, and didn't pull up, I'm going to take some white and go over the whole thing. And this is probably my favorite print of the whole session. When the paint dries and you add paint on top of it, wet paint, it gets like this grungy kind of like crazy texture that I just love so much. So for the rest of my session, I'm just going to try to work on getting that dried paint up. So I introduced some carnation to the right side, which is one of those new Dina Wakley paint colors. And then on the left side, I just have some lime and sky again. And I'm going to print that on a piece of cardstock. I'm really trying to use my brayer to push into that, to pull up that dried paint. I'm going to add a little bit of white and then some magenta on the right side. And then that one's so good. And then I'm just taking pieces of cardstock to try to get all that dried paint off. And it's not off completely, but I put it to the side anyway. And these are the prints that I got from today's session. And you will see more of these in future videos. I love that one right there. So good. Oh, and that one too. So good. It didn't come out quite like I'd wanted. But you know, it's still cool nonetheless. So I'm going to take that really grungy paper on the right that has like the blues and limes and a lot of white space. I'm going to trace my card so I know exactly where it's going to be on the print. I'm going to apply that with some Collage Page mats, and I'm also going to put a layer of Collage Page on the top because I am going to add some paint, more paint to it. So I have Mineral and Apricot, which are the newest Dina Wakley colors, and I'm going to apply them with a paintbrush, but I'm also gonna smooth them out a little bit with my finger, or fade them out a little with my finger, because I still want to see that glorious texture underneath. I don't want to completely cover that up. I just wanted to add a little bit more subtle interest to the whole card. So I'm just going to add both of those colors until I'm happy with the way it looks, and then I'm going to spread the remaining paint out in a thin layer on my craft sheet, and I'm going to use some stamps. I have cross marks X's by Viva Las Vegas Stamps, and then carved X's by Viva Las Vegas Stamps, and it adds a really subtle texture. You can't really see it here or in the photos, but up close in person you can really see it. So I have some Night, Blackberry, and Sky scribble sticks, and I'm going to take this Dina Wakley stamp, spritz it with a little bit of water, and take my scribble sticks and color in the whole stamp. And I added too much water. It really got runny. So I'm going to add some more of the scribble sticks, and it really doesn't get a lot of detail because I did add a lot of water. And there was a lot of water left on my stamp, so I just used a thin paintbrush and tried to pick up some of that color to add splatters. I didn't get enough, so I did take some splatters straight from the scribble stick as well. So I'm going to stamp with some pale blue chalk ink, and I thought maybe you'd be able to see it on that partial jelly print there, but you can't see it that well. So I'm just going to stamp it on some white cardstock, and I'm going to outline that with my watering can archival ink, and I want to kind of frame in this card, but black I think would be too intense, so I add a little bit of the watering can, but my ink pad is very dry, so I added a little bit of navy by Heidi Swapp, and that added just enough of a darkness. So my friend Debbie sent me this glorious package of Happy Mail, and in it was these old photographs, a ton of old photographs, and I knew that this was the perfect ending or finishing touch to this card. So I just cut out my chicks there from the photo, and normally what I do when I get old photographs is I scan them so that I can use the original, and then I can also print out the scan and use it over and over. But I was just so excited that I didn't scan this one, and I kind of regret it, but there's so many, it doesn't really matter. She sent me a ton. So I added a little bit of masking tape and washi tape for something, so they have something to sit on, and I apply that with gel medium because I do plan on selling this card. It's for sale in my Etsy shop, and I want to make sure that the washi tape stays on there permanently, and the gel medium will help that so it doesn't peel up like washi tape sometimes likes to do. So I'm also going to take the gel medium to stick my chicks down onto that circle, and then I'm going to try to find a place for them. I didn't really, originally how I intended the card, I didn't really like how it was because I felt like they were taking too much real estate up. I wanted to see more of that background and more of the stamping. I'm trying to work it out by moving the card all around and playing with my composition. I thought maybe I could make the circle smaller and that would take up less real estate, but I still wasn't really happy with it. So I decided to just cut them out completely and just leave the thing they're sitting on, so that you can see a lot of that background. And that's finally what does it for me. And I have some of these Chit Chat stickers by Tim Holtz. I only could find one sheet, so it's not the best quote, but it's what I had. I don't know what happened to the other sheets. And I stuck those guys, or my chicks, down with some multimedia matte. And then I'm just going to add some subtle scribbles with some Prima colored pencils, and also a Neo Color 2 in gray, and also a light graphite pencil. There's a lot of really subtle elements to this card. And it's those little details that I like to add and I like to see in my pieces. That's what really makes me happy. And I added some dots around my chick there with my my chicks with a Posca paint pen, and I added it around the bottom, but I wasn't happy with it. Luckily it didn't dry, so I was able to wipe that up with some water. And that is it for my card today. This original one is up for sale on my Etsy, and thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye bye, guys.